We're off the map. We should go back, recheck the route.
It's this way.
The temple.
God damn it, Alessia. The darts came from here.
Can you open it?
Without killing us? Let's hope so. Turn them off. And we're definitely getting warmer.
How are these still burning?
Oil bubbles up from the ground. The chamber channels it somehow.
And his shield. What? So? There's metal in the floor.
It's not just any metal. It's liquid mercury.
Shit, that stuff's toxic.
Fatal. Only step where I step. What did I say?
I'm sorry.
Not now. Get out the explosives.
That's our bridge?
Do this right, it'll fall across.
Kalima? They're real?
Keep working. I'll take care of the she-beasts.
You disturb Cataravalla's slumber. For your sin, you die.
Fight!
Welcome everybody, Josh here, back again today with a brand new and special product review. Today we're going to be talking to you guys about this, which is Mortal Kombat 1 on the PlayStation 4, the PS5, as well as the Xbox Series S and X for backwards compatibility. Now, as you guys know, I'm a massive fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise. I've been playing this video game franchise ever since I was a kid, back on the Sega Genesis as well as the N64. Now, I actually didn't own these games on the Sega Genesis or the N64. I played the Sega Genesis version on my friend's console back in the day, and I really loved this game. I really liked the blood, the gore, the violence, which is definitely here in Mortal Kombat 1 on the PlayStation 4 and the PS5, which is the copy that you're going to be seeing gameplay footage from. I actually did get it on the PlayStation 5, and I actually only have the digital version, so you're not going to be seeing a physical copy per se in my hands in this review, but hopefully this gameplay footage that I do have for this review does justice. So what is the story of Mortal Kombat 1 in terms of the context of this franchise? Well, it picks up right after Mortal Kombat 11, where Liu Kang becomes the fire god of Outworld. He destroyed Shang Tsung as well as his army of soldiers that then resurrected to fight these tournaments known as Mortal Kombat. And in this game, like in the previous games of the franchise, Shang Tsung is also the main bad guy. He's also working with the rulers of Outworld, such as Baraka, who gets a really cool and interesting character arc in terms of this game in the franchise. With he in the previous games was more of a villain that you love to hate, but in this game now he has more of a sympathetic tone to him, because in this game they actually give him more to work with in terms of his story, where he is actually dealing with the fact that a virus has taken over the kingdom that he rules over. A lot of his people are actually dying, and Shang Tsung is actually there to do bone marrow research to try and stop the threat of the virus. And I really do like the fact that they give all these characters in the franchise, whether that's Liu Kang, Raiden, even characters that we've known and come to love in the past, such as Sub-Zero and Scorpion, things to do in this game. I think the action in this game is elevated to a T, and I think it's even better than the games that have come before it. I think all the finishers and the fatalities, as they like to be called in this game, are brutal, bloody, and violent like they should be. I think everything about this game is perfect, and I think that if you're buying this game in terms of the story mode, you're not going to be disappointed, just because the story itself is really interesting and well developed. I think that the fact that they focus a little bit more on Johnny Cage's story, where he's a failed actor and he's trying to do all these roles so that he can support his family. He's got a wife who's threatening to leave him and divorce him, and he's doing everything in his power to make sure that she stays in his life. And I think that that is one of the reasons why he continues to do these roles and fight in these tournaments, because he realizes that if he loses her, he loses everything, including the home that he built for himself. And I think that's one of the reasons why I relate to that character, due to the fact that I went to California in the past and I was looking for jobs, and it was really hard to get a job while I was living in LA, and just the timing that I went there wasn't right, so I had to go back home. But I think that with Johnny Cage, he's one of my favorite characters in the Mortal Kombat franchise, and he's one of the characters that I main with, along with characters like Raiden, Liu Kang as well. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are in this game per se, but they're really not given as much of a story arc as they were in the previous games of the franchise, with Mortal Kombat X as well as Mortal Kombat 11, or I guess if you want to technically use the term, it's Mortal Kombat 10, but everybody calls it Mortal Kombat X. So one of the things I find relatively interesting about the recent Mortal Kombat 1 game is the fact that there is this hourglass feature. Apparently Liu Kang can activate this at any time that he wants to, because he is the keeper of the realms, and with that being the case and being the timekeeper, whatever it's called in the universe, he's able to access these portals, and these portals are like a parallel universe, along with the fact that he can manipulate time forward and backwards. It's pretty much a time travel device, and I think that while I don't particularly like time travel in video games as well as in movies, I think it's cop out when these video game writers or even screenwriters in general don't have any new and interesting ideas. I think that for the Mortal Kombat universe, it sets up something really new and unique and interesting for future games in the title, because now you can not only bring back newer characters, but you can also bring back older characters from the Mortal Kombat franchise at the whim. And I think that's one of the things that really makes this franchise interesting, is the fact that there's a lot of callbacks to the Avengers movies as well as the Infinity Saga as a whole, because those also dealt with time travel and the fact that they're bringing back characters from old and bringing them into the newer franchise and doing stuff that's unique with them. Some people might disagree with some of the recent Marvel movies, but I digress. I think that for Mortal Kombat itself is a really cool idea and something that could be used really interestingly to help enhance the story a little bit, because you haven't really seen this in a Mortal Kombat game yet, or at least not since Mortal Kombat 11. But I personally think that they should have done something probably a little bit different, where they're fighting a different threat that can either manipulate time, or it's just not even involving time travel. It just makes these worlds a little bit more messy in the process. But I think that for Mortal Kombat 1, this idea that Liu Kang is able to access these different realms and universes within Mortal Kombat franchise itself is pretty cool and interesting, and I think that it could be used for a better purpose in the future, but that is yet to be seen. So I think that with Mortal Kombat 1, I really don't go heavy in terms of the lore of the backstory between the characters, just due to the fact that there's just so much to delve into and unpack. And I think that if I were to review these games again in the near future, I might actually go back and review all the games in the past if I can. But I think that the storytelling in this game is top notch. It's as top notch as you can get with a Mortal Kombat franchise. It's like a big bombastic blockbuster film rolled into a video game format. All these characters from previous franchises are back, and you get a lot more characterizations with them. The dialogue in this game is fantastic. There are some cringe moments within the dialogue itself, and I think that's mostly due to some of the disjointed writing that is in this game, but I think that for the most part it is well written. It is a well written and well told story, and I really do think that in the future these games can get even more crazy and chaotic with the different characters that can come back and the stuff that they can do with them in the future, because with the finishers that do take time to master and also over time you get really good at using, I think that these finishers and fatalities, as they're called in the games, games are really interesting. Everything about the way that the characters move, the things that they can do, the things that you can earn over time and kind of utilize even in online matches, which there is an online component to Mortal Kombat 1, which I don't have any footage for just because I didn't really play the online portion of this game. But I think the story alone is enough to warrant you going out and purchasing. Now, this game is 5 to 8 hours long. You can beat this, I do believe, shorter than that if you're doing a speed run of the campaign. But I think the general consensus is about a 6 to 8 hour game if you're trying to do everything in your power to beat like all the side quests and get all the different stuff that you can get while playing this campaign in the franchise. I definitely think it is worth it to take your time with this game and understand who these characters are and watch the cutscenes that do unveil what the story is in the campaign. I will not be using any spoilers for the ending because there's a huge twist at the end of it, but I think that you should definitely beat this game for yourself because right now you can get this game at $50, which I think is definitely better than $70 price tag it was at launch. And I think that everybody in this game, from the voice actors to the new talent that does play their pivotal roles from the previous franchise from before, are really awesome. And I think they do everything in their power to make this the next generation version of Mortal Kombat. And the cutscenes in this game look beautiful. The graphics in this game are amazing, and I think it looks as cinematic as it possibly can in a video game fashion without overdoing it with the graphical development of these characters. And I think that there is room for change in terms of these characters, but one of the things I had issues with when Mortal Kombat 11 and even Mortal Kombat 1 were coming out was the fact that they do change these characters up a little bit. They do lower the sex appeal of some of the characters, especially the female characters in the games. The male characters have their characterizations where they are a little bit more, you can see a little bit more flesh with them. Characters that basically have a shirtless characterization to them, and then the females are a little bit more covered up. And I always had issues with that in video games where they cover up the females and then leave the males unscathed and can bear all in terms of the context of the story. I really wish that in an M-rated fighting game there is a little bit more sex appeal to the characters, because there's even people that actually cosplay as those older style characters in real life, and they do a really good job at doing that, showing the fact they can be badass and look good in the process. And I think that lowering the standards for female characters and upping the status for male characters is a little bit sexist in a way. But for me personally, I think that for an M-rated fighting game, you shouldn't really be with that at all. I think it should just be about the storytelling and the gameplay mechanics and the fighting styles of the characters in the game. And a lot of these characters do have their own unique fighting styles that you will be experiencing as you're playing these characters in the story. And I think that's what sets this game apart from other fighting games like Dead or Alive or Soul Calibur or any of the fighting games that I played from the past that I really did enjoy as a whole. And I think that Mortal Kombat is definitely one of those games that always ups the ante in terms of what they can do with the storytelling, the graphics, and they use the power of that console to tell an interesting and well-told universe while also doing these characters justice in the end as well. And that's one of the reasons why I still love these fighting games to this very day. And I think that if you're trying to pick this up for the modern day consoles, you won't be feeling like you're losing out on money by buying this. I think that if you buy it at $50, if you're trying to re-experience these games like I did for myself and actually want to play a new and interesting story, Mortal Kombat 1 is definitely the game for you. So there are some issues with Mortal Kombat, one of which is I think there are some issues with the storytelling in general. There's this one mission where there's like a biological weapons attack in one of the levels in the game, and the Baraka's trapped in this room and you have to get out. And there's like a random QTE event sequence that happens out of nowhere, and I don't believe that any of the other Mortal Kombats have actually had a random QTE event happen in this game, but it's there in this one. And it's one of those things where it makes me not want to play the game when I'm getting killed because of a fucking door. It's one of those things where it's like I just want to get past this part in the game so that way I can play the rest of the story, because the rest of the story is that interesting, and I think it just ruins the game. The other thing that's really interesting but also at the same time kind of ruins the game for me is the fact that Megan Fox is in this game. Now, I don't dislike her as an actress per se. I've certainly liked the Transformers movies and some stuff that she's been in the past. She's not terrible in this game, but does take you out of the game experience itself when you hear Megan Fox's voice in a character that should be voiced by a different voice actress. I know that she's been delving in other things as well, so maybe in the future I will actually grow to like the character that she does play in this game. But given her sort of a prominent character in this game, it's just a little bit jarring. It's weird hearing her voice in a character in a game where it's like you're supposed to be escaping this into a brand new universe where you're trying to fight these characters that are from a different realm. And so I guess in some aspects it can work having Hollywood actors portray these characters in this game, but for me personally speaking, it just took me out a little bit. But maybe in the future, if they make sequels to this game and they bring her back and have her do a little bit more acting in terms of the voice acting in this game, which is on par with any of the other games that I've reviewed on this channel, I think maybe she could be an interesting character in this universe. But for the most part, I really did like the references to pop culture, especially with Johnny Cage's character. He's constantly whipping out one-liners referencing film and cinema and all these really cool stuff in video games as well. And there's even an Indiana Jones reference in this game, which I think is pretty much worth buying in and of itself, because it's a really cool cutscene and really sequence where you see a Easter egg to Steven Spielberg. He's working behind the camera, work with Johnny Cage, get him back on his feet, and work to have his career unfold into a new light. And it was cool to see that aspect in the game, and I think it was pretty cool to, as a Indiana Jones cosplayer myself, kind of see some of the gear featured in the movie that I actually do have in real life. So that in and of itself is pretty cool. There are aspects aspects to this game I really do like. There are aspects to this game that I do think is a little bit grindy. Some of the stuff with the invasion stuff can be a little bit grindy if you're actually playing the game for those modes. There's multiplayer stuff to do, which I actually didn't get to play just because of the fact that I really don't play multiplayer for these games that much. I pretty much just play the single player campaign, or if I'm playing online with friends, then I'll do that, or playing with friends in general on my console, then I'll do that. But for the most part, I pretty much just stick to the single player campaign, which I think is top notch in general. So with that being the case, I really did enjoy my time with Mortal Kombat 1. There are some missteps that NetherRealms does take with this franchise. This game can be easily beaten in, like I said before, 6 to 8 hours. It's a very short game. It's one of those games you can easily beat in like a day if you're actually playing from early morning to the evening, or if you want to break it up in chunks, then you can play 3-hour chunks and then come back to it and play it again and possibly beat it. By the time that you're seeing this review, I've probably beaten it, and there is a really interesting twist towards the end, but like I said before, I'm probably not going to be spoiling it for you in this review because I do want you guys to play this for yourselves. But that is going to be my review for Mortal Kombat 1 on the PlayStation 4, the PS5, the Xbox Series S and X through backwards compatibility. Which game is your favorite in the Mortal Kombat franchise? Which game did you start playing first? Are you a huge Mortal Kombat fan like myself? Did you grow up playing this franchise as a kid? Which Mortal Kombat movie did you enjoy the most or the least? Which game in the franchise really influenced you as a whole? Because these games definitely have influenced me as a storyteller and a screenwriter and storyteller in general. So let me know in the comment section down below. As always guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Now where's that shield?
I am not yet defeated.
Yes, you are. Time to go home.
Cut! Print it!
I knew it! Woo! I felt that one. You felt it too, right?
Temple of Kataravala, take 39, tail slate.
That's a wrap.
Steven, this was fantastic. Thank you. Oh, just like the old days. And these props. Jimbo killed it.
You did too, Johnny.
Hey, about my pitch. You know, the karate zombie thing? I'm thinking 4 films. Maybe a streaming series?
Johnny, I don't have...
You're right. Not here. I'll swing by your office after I change.
I can't. Have to meet with the editors. Martian will call you.
Great! Have your assistant call me.
That was great, hon.
Wasn't it, though? We need to celebrate. I'm thinking private party.
Johnny, we need to talk.